Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got a double helping of mid-tier gameplay for you where we're in not favourable matchups, because that's probably one of my most frequently asked questions. How do I play when I'm not in a good matchup? Well, obviously I'm playing a premium vehicle here, so I don't have to play it stock, and that's always an advantage. One of the most horrible things about having to play a stock tank first is that sometimes your gun is inadequate, maybe you've got low penetration, maybe your turret armor is weak, maybe you don't have the mobility because you don't have the tracks or the engine. Gosh, I remember playing a Moisian completely stock before they recently buffed it, and it was probably one of the least enjoyable experiences of World of Tanks that I ever had. Now, of course, the Moisian's tier 9, and so yeah, even when you're a tier 9 tank against tier 10s, it doesn't feel so bad, and then you often get against tier 7s and tier 8s, not too bad. But I'm not sure about you, but recently it feels like whenever you play a tier 6 tank with the new template system, you're more often than not having to dealing with some tier 8s and tier 7s, and that's also the same when you're in your tier 8s having to deal with mostly 9s and 10s, right? And even preferential matchmaking doesn't feel the same as what it used to. So what should you do? Well, obviously you've got to try and play to the strengths of your tank, and remember that when you go up the tiers, what usually happens? Well, you usually get a lot more health, usually get a lot more armor, and so if they've got more health and more armor, that means that you just never want to get into an all-in trading engagement with a higher tiered vehicle. For example, if I was to go after that FE4202 with 840 hit points versus his 1400, he's clearly going to be able to take me out if we get into a trading engagement where it's just 1 versus 1. So you want to play the support role, you want to try and take a flank, you want to try and work with your allies, you want to hopefully get into a situation where you outnumber your opponents, or should we say you've got some vehicles with you that you can work with, like the T54 Mod 1. Wait a minute. Who's now made his way around that side of the Castle von Himmelsdorf. So you want to base your play around the higher tiered vehicles, and you can completely change the way that the game is going by just supporting them. For example, this T54 Mod 1 is playing aggressively right now against the Dicamax, and the FE4202 is now going to turn around and try and deal with the Mod 1. But of course, the FE4202 is now going to get shot by the vehicles that are situated along the G-line. So what I'm going to do is try and take some of the pressure off the Mod 1, see if we can keep him alive as he's just killed the Dicamax, and try and take the advantage that he has given us just for a few seconds of distracting the FE4202 to try and go after the IS-3. And of course, higher alpha damage tanks like the IS-3, when they fire, you've got to take advantage of your good rate of fire. And I know that every time that he fires, I should be able to fire 2 to 3 times with the 14.29 rounds a minute rate of fire that the Poodle has. So if I can try to get him to miss. Another good thing about the Poodle is it actually has 50mm of side armor, so I can actually side scrape against an IS-3 here. Of course, I don't want to take the hit, but the KV-2 soaks the hit, he bounces a shell off the IS-3, and now we're trying to penetrate him. But you're seeing that we're having to fire premium rounds here, but when I'm in a tier 6 vehicle shooting at tanks that are 2 tiers higher than me, I guess that's what premium rounds are for, right? The FE4202 reverses, we put one into his side and he gets finished off by the AMX 1375, who now I want to try and get up close and personal with the IS-3, see if we can put some rounds into him, and this is where I track him and I see he's turning his gun towards me, and I have a bit of a cheeky idea, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, what about this? How'd you like that, IS-3? What? Oh my goodness, the Comet actually goes and steals the kill. How dare you? Oh, I was trying to get some style points there in the Poodle. Look at that. Obviously, when you're on top of an enemy tank, you quite quickly rack up tons and tons and tons of low amounts of damage. It's like some kind of machine gun going off. And you take exactly the same amount of damage as you deal. So 302 damage received from the IS-3 and 302 damage dealt to the IS-3. And what a hero. This KV-2 sees that I'm stuck and comes to help me out. Appreciate that, Ivano. Thank you very much for helping me out there, buddy. It was a pleasure to get through that situation with you and to take out a vehicle that was 2 tiers higher than both of us, right? And so that's really what it's about. Not so much maybe mounting your maybe not so much mounting tanks that are 2 tiers higher than you, but hopefully I'm giving you some food for thought about how to try and take on higher tiered tanks, and it's all about playing the supporting role. Now, one thing I didn't appreciate this tank until I played it recently is it weighs 44 tons. So what we're going to do is we're going to do very small amounts of ramming damage to this 88. And what this is going to allow us to do is to keep him tracked. He actually puts his tracks back on, so we're going to ram him there and kill him. And that's something that you can do to non-turreted tanks, or even turreted tanks if you just want to slow them down a little bit more. Just tiny little rams to your opponent's tracks. When they're off, will keep them off. So sometimes you don't have to shoot the tracks to still be able to immobilize your opponent. That's incredibly useful against something like a T-95, for example, where a T-95, if you're trying to shoot through the front of the tank, you either have a choice. Do I want to track it, or do I want to deal damage to it? Because the tracks actually at the front of the vehicle aren't aligned up with the hull. But if you ram the side of the T-95, and remember that's a heavy tank, you're going to take damage to do so, you can manage to keep the tracks off and then shoot in the upper part of the vehicle and still damage it at the same time if you can't for some reason traverse round to the back. Satisfying moment here, we put one into the Lorraine. Double track, even though he uses his repair kit, we're not going to let him take us out. And there you go, 5th kill, 3,000 damage for a poodle in the worst possible matchmaking. And we certainly would have got some style points as well if it wasn't for this cheeky comet. So now we're playing in the Tier 6 American tank destroyer. It is the Hellcat, and this used to be one of my favourite vehicles tier for tier in the game before they massively nerfed it. The reverse speed on this vehicle used to be 20 kilometers an hour. That was changed to 12. Now its dispersion when it's driving around is like some kind of a pineapple on your screen, so it takes an awful long time to aim in your shots. But it can still do some good stuff. And also they did nerf the rate of fire of this vehicle a little bit painful. But nevertheless, in a matchup like this, where am I going to take the tank? Well, clearly I want to sit on this rock at the front. There aren't any light tanks on the enemy team at all, and so that means that their vision is going to be very poor. However, if I get forwards and I set up my camouflage net and my binoculars, I'm easily going to be able to spot my opponents, and I don't know what this T-32 is thinking. Does he think this is a standard game of Corellia? That sometimes happens. It happens to me on Siegfried Line. Does it happen to any of you out there? Sometimes when I'm playing Siegfried Line, I think, oh, I'm playing Assault or something, and then I'm actually playing Encounter, and I feel like a muppet because I kind of drive to try and relocate. Oh, how does that one miss that Tiger? Oh dear. So already 2 misses on this Tiger that should have been absolute sitters. Then 1 going into the mantlet of the vehicle. I have a quick look at the T-32 to see if we can manage to shoot him there. That one into the side of the turret, however, and come on, a little bit more damage. Where's the artillery shells coming in? There you go, a little bit of damage there, and oh! Well, off with the Tiger's head. So what was that Tiger thinking? The Tiger's probably thinking, oh no, please don't do it! Don't do it at all! And then it goes... Oh dear, that was terrible. I just thought, you know, considering I've got this whole green screen behind me, I thought I'd try and actually make use of it, right, one time in my career. I don't think I'm ever going to be doing that again. Anyway, Hellcat now absolutely lovely at long range. The camera rating on this vehicle, even when firing, is quite nice, although with a 90mm caliber gun you do lose quite a lot of your camera rating when you're firing, because that's the way that it works. The larger the caliber of your gun, the more camera rating that you lose when you fire. So something like an E25, for example, doesn't lose much camera rating when it fires. What is the accuracy of this tank? It's 0.35. It certainly doesn't feel like it's 0.35 right now, you know. Oh, 1 into the side of the T-32 there, and a little bit more artillery support, and he tries to blind fire, but bless him, he doesn't quite manage to align up the reticle completely. And yeah, good stuff, great. So, how to play your low-tier sneaky tank destroyers in your bad matchups? Well, when you're playing the Hellcat, it doesn't really seem to matter. Of course, your gun is still pretty damn good, even on a tier 8 tank. There are tier 8 mediums that... I guess this is kind of like a tier 7 medium tank gun, a lot like that on the T20, but to have it at tier 6 doesn't feel too bad. So right now, I feel like the game is won, and so I'm thinking, let's get experience. But I was also reading chat at the time on the stream, and I kind of get a little bit yeehaw kind of thing. And now I just woke up and I realized, stop reading Twitch chat, Scrubby Baby. You've just drove out in front of a bunch of tank destroyers, E25 there. But at this point, I'm starting to think, I'm in some kind of an action film right now, right? We've blown the head clean off a Tiger. Somehow we've just driven at the entirety of the enemy team, and my team have actually put in some good shots and managed to kill the Dickomax, do a lot of assistance damage to the E25, and somehow I'm still alive on 6 hit points. Wow, somebody could sneeze on me right now. Well, at least a couple of weeks ago I could sneeze on myself and I'll probably take myself out there. Talking about Tigers. Okay, here's another one. Oh, that's a beautiful shot actually, if I do say so myself. Right into the lower track of the Tiger, locking him in place because of course I want all that lovely assistance damage. So I'm trying to go for the back of the tank again, but he actually angles He's turning his vehicle away from me, which kind of took me by surprise, and so I don't manage to get a shot there. Hopefully, I was trying to go for his engine there. Maybe we could get a fire to go with the ammo rack earlier. We pop up, we fire a shot. Don't want to give him too much time to shoot me, but another 558 assistance points. And remember, this is spotting on higher tiered vehicles. This is a lot of experience we're racking up right now. Now, sure, I'm not suggesting that maybe you play all this aggressively. Or just a moment. I tried to shoot the AMX there, I think, but the Stritzwang just turned himself in. To be able to penetrate the Stritzwang S1, I would need a gun that was 1mm in caliber higher to overmatch the entirety of the vehicle. But wham bam, goodbye Hummel. And this M6 doesn't seem to know what he's doing, but the artillery clearly does, as he one-shots the M6 with a penetrating shot. But just coming around the corner, and maybe we can pick up a Pascucci's medal for killing the GW Panther in... Looks like the M44 knows what he's doing as well, as he managed to land the shell. But it looks like when you're in some kind of an action film and all of the enemy henchmen can't shoot and there's loads of explosions covering you from, I guess, supporting aircraft, or in this case, tanks, it doesn't matter if you play like a bit of a donkey, you can still get through okay. And look, this game wasn't an immense amount of skill in the Hellcat, but for the pure of what the hell just happened, I thought this one was entertaining. And when you're shooting higher tiered vehicles and spotting, you do get rewarded 1,778 base experience points, 2,446 damage, 3 kills, and 3,808 spotting. Didn't fire any premium rounds, so made 51,000 credits profit. And in the Poodle, this time no hero medals whatsoever, but an ace tanker for the 1,615 base experience points. Not top on damage this time, the IS-3 was, but it was Himmelsdorf, right? But still, 5 kills, not too bad. I did fire a few premium rounds here against that IS-3, but still a decent profit with or without a premium account. And so that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this double helping of mid-tier gameplay. I did notice I was featuring a lot of Soviet tanks, and especially high-tier Soviet tanks on the channel recently. And of course, while you're going to play what's the latest kind of crazes in the game, I still don't want to forget about that variety, and it was lots of fun to bring back the Hellcat. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, 487 of you voted, and the tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer, the Stritzwang 103B, received the most votes, although this was a close one, beating the 2 French vehicles by a single vote. And so come along right now as I start at tier 1 and work my way up to tier 10, so you can see if the Swedish tank destroyer tech tree is worth playing, or if you already have the vehicles, maybe you can pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. So really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.